who support the motion say aye, and those who are against the motion say nay. The ayes have it.
Hello and welcome to the program. I am Dennis Adegunloye. Beginning with financial matters, the Senate has passed the statutory budget of the Niger Delta Development Commission amounting to 1.911 trillion naira.
The budget is for development purposes in the 9 beneficiary states of the Niger Delta covered by the NDDC Act. A breakdown shows legacy projects funded by borrowing taking 1 trillion naira. 835 billion naira goes to development projects, while 38 billion naira is allocated to recurrent expenditure.
I commend the present management of NDC for now being focused, channeling the money to projects that are really meaningful and dedicated to the development of the area.
Total revenue, 1,911,844,833,046 naira.
Is hereby approved and passed.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says the 10th National Assembly remains resolute in consolidating Nigeria's democracy where peace and justice will continue to reign. Senator Akpabio stated this during a visit to the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS, in Abuja.
If we kept to that national anthem, we probably would not have banditry today in Nigeria. Because if you take your neighbor as your brother, you will not want to kill your brother, would you? If you take your neighbor as your brother, you will not want to go into the farm to behead your brother. So in brotherhood, we stand. And it ended with a prayer. Oh God of creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. I don't have any doubt that your leadership here is improving democracy in Nigeria.
What you are seeing here in terms of structure, in terms of facilities, in terms of the glamour, the kudos go back to you. You have been very supportive.
As the 10th National Assembly clocks 1 year, National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali brings us this story on events and happenings in the first legislative year of the 10th Senate, often referred to as the upper chamber of the nation's bicameral lawmaking arm of government.
The 109 senators inaugurated on June 13, 2023, rode on the platform of 7 political parties to win their seats, with the governing party APC in the majority. Election of the presiding officers, Godswill Akpabio and Barrow Jibrin, sets the tone of activities for lawmakers in the 10th Senate. The Red Chamber, in the year under review, screened and confirmed about 300 appointees of President Tinubu and still counting. Aside amendments and passage of budgets and supplementary components, Senate passed more than 30 bills to fast-track the implementation of initiatives for enhanced impact on key sectors.
Adequate remuneration of judicial officers is sine qua non for the attainment of an independent judiciary, to insulating the judiciary from political influence.
Another one was how to engage those who are on the street, especially the youth, and also addressing the insecurity that is all over the country.
The Red Chamber, in checkmating the executive, also interrogated some policies, urging a review, and instituted investigations on perceived lapses. A good example was the recent introduction of new electricity tariff regime for a segment of consumers.
There's no way we can add this electricity increase now to petroleum subsidy removal at the same time and expect people not to be suffocated.
The motion on Abadan project, which led the Senate to set up the ad hoc committee on Abadan project for 11,886 projects. Abadan, when I say mega project, I don't mean ordinary projects. A mega project is a project above 250 billion.
The lawmakers also engaged key stakeholders for harmonious coexistence. The Senate met twice with the organized labor, all in an effort to reach amicable resolution of disagreements between federal government and the organized labor. The ongoing constitution review process with creation of state police on the front burner is among areas of focus for the lawmakers.
My own state needs another state. I come from Cross River North. Abuja was one of the first provinces, and it's the only province that is yet to have a state.
As far as the resources of Nigeria is concerned, the Constitution should also look at, because I do not subscribe to the idea of exploration and exploitation of natural resources being in the exclusive list of the Constitution in favor of the federal government.
As the Senate marks 1 year, some moments etched in memory include the sacking of 2 minority leaders and 3 others by court pronouncements, while Senator Ifeanyi Ubah defected from the YPP to the APC. As the Senate progresses into the second year of the 4-year session, lawmakers are confident of impactful performance to positively transform the lives of citizens.
The commitment of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the renewed hope agenda, touching lives, palliatives have been taken care of, and also he has a listening ear, negotiating with the laborers and all these things about the complaint from Nigeria, which is genuine. So for me, it's just 1 year of good tidings.
Our economy should be strengthened. Our governance system should be strengthened. The institutions should be strengthened and stronger than the individuals. And once that is done, we are good to go.
And to talk more extensively on the 10th National Assembly, Nigeria's 25 years of unbroken democratic governance, as well as executive-legislature relations, here is the Majority Leader of the Senate, Okpeyemi Bamidele.
Again, I want to say that to the glory of God, like you said, it's been 25 years of uninterrupted democracy. And why is it significant for us to even commemorate 25 years of uninterrupted democracy? It's because of who we are and where we have come from. And for anyone to appreciate this, you need to understand the historical context within which people feel this needs to be commemorated. We went through a situation where our democracy at independence had to go through some teething problems like any other young democracy. But unfortunately, our military, as it were then, took advantage of those teething problems to terminate the entire democratic setup. And we were faced with a situation where for 3 decades, one corrective regime came to take over from another corrective one corrective military regime took over from another corrective one. And it led to a near stagnation of our growth, as a nation, economically and politically, and I feel that as much as possible, today we are in a position to say it's been 25 years of learning. It's been 25 years of nation building. It's been 25 years of trying to nurture a nascent democracy. It's been 25 years, of us getting to understand the basic rudiments of democracy, learning to operate based on rule of law, learning to operate based on a desire to have the votes, of the electorate count, learning to operate in a way that will not be left behind by the Committee of Civilized Nations, because we are all learning to understand the fact that, there's no alternative to democracy, especially in a multi-ethnic nation like ours. So for me, it's worth commemorating it. It's not a celebration, so to say. It's a commemoration, which is totally different. And I believe we have come, some way. We have a long way to go, no doubt about it.
And distinguished, how would you assess the National Assembly's journey over the past quarter of the century?
Well, the National Assembly journey in the last 25 years, cannot be isolated from the journey of Nigeria in the last 25 years. Like I said, it's been 25 years of trial and error in some areas, and 25 years of learning to be democratic in our way. And for the National Assembly as well, it's been 25 years of trying to enthrone and entrench parliamentary democracy in a way that, different people, elected by Nigerians, have had to serve in different capacities in the parliament, both at the national level, where we have the bicameral legislature, the Senate and the House of Representatives, as well as at the local government, at the state level, where we have the state houses of assembly. In any case, our constitution says the state shall be in charge of the local government and make law for local government administration. Even at that level, the states have encouraged also their various local governments, to have a parliamentary arm, at the level of local government administration. So even the councillors, as elected lawmakers in their various local governments, have also been part of, our history, in the last 25 years. So assessing the parliament in the last 25 years, I will also say that we have grown, and we're also learning, to allow a tradition, to be built in a way that will be able to produce ranking parliamentarians. The turnover has been extremely high within the last 25 years. Again, because we are talking about a democracy that has remained nascent for a long time. And what is it that usually leads to a high turnover of parliamentarians? It's that people get elected and they come to the seat of power in Abuja and not remember that they left people behind in their various constituencies. And when it's time for another election, they go back home and people said, well, we elected you 4 years ago. You have not really been a part of our life in any way. And it will be difficult for us to give you another chance to go back to represent us. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, it could also be a question of misunderstanding on the part of the people who also do not have a thorough understanding of what is supposed to be the role of the parliamentarian. Unfortunately, because it's still a nascent democracy, a lot of legislators are still distracted by attempts to be part of the economic survival of the people, because you know that you are not going to go back in another 4 years to give a scorecard of how many bills you have helped to pass, or how many motions, or how many oversight functions you did, or some of your people will probably ask you, how many rounds of empowerment did you do in the last 4 years? So, unfortunately, and I use the word unfortunately intentionally, legislators now find themselves in a situation where they now have to do all manners of empowerment. You buy a refrigerator, buy deep freezer, buy a motorcycle, buy, all manners of things to go and share among the people in the name of empowerment, which essentially is not supposed to be the job of a legislator, in a democracy that is organized enough, that is mature, and where you have the economic, the executive arm of government, that is actually supposed to be in charge of things like that, and they have the resources to do what they're supposed to do, it shouldn't be the job of a legislator. But today is part of what we are saddled with, and you better ensure that you do enough of that. It's part of the nascency of our democracy that we're talking about. So in the last 25 years, we have seen kind of metamorphosis. We have gone through different stages. But the good news is that things are getting better by the day, by the year. Every legislative session, every assembly, in every 4 years is getting better than the year before. And part of the good news is also the fact that the votes of Nigerians are beginning to really count, with the introduction of technology into our electoral process, the beaver machine and other forms of reporting, of electoral results and all that involving technology. The votes are beginning to really count, and everybody is getting more conscious of the fact that you can't just do anything and get away with it. These votes will count, and what you do or do not do will count either in your favor or against you, in another 4 years. So our democracy is maturing, our parliament is getting more mature. I emphasize parliament, especially because that is the bastion of democracy. Even where you have a democracy suffering any kind of fate. In those days when we used to have military coup, the only arm of government that is terminated is the parliament. There will always be an executive arm of government, even when it was populated by soldiers and their cronies. They were still the executive arm. The judiciary will always be there, regardless of whether it is a military regime or a democracy. So usually it is the parliament that is always the first to suffer as a democratic institution. So in the last 25 years, a lot has happened. Elected legislators have learned so much, and there have been attempts to also fit into a thorough understanding and practice of parliamentary procedure, in a way that we can be seen also to be complying now with global best practice, global parliamentary best practices and procedure. And I think these are all part of what we could call our gains and the gains of our democracy in the last 25 years. Well, I will put it this way. Speaking about the achievements of the 10th Assembly, as we describe ourselves, is something I would like to handle in a very delicate manner, because I have to do some delicate balancing between sounding self-serving as an actor within the institution, and also not sounding too self-serving in a way that it will look like we're just giving ourselves a pass mark. It is for the public to assess and score us. It's not for the government to criticize the public or assess the public. It's not for the government to score itself high. It's always for the public. But with every sense of modesty, I want to say that in the 10th Assembly, we have tried to be alive, to our responsibilities. We have tried to be sensitive to the needs of the Nigerian people. The 10th Assembly is running at a very critical period in our nation, when our economy, was almost right on the floor, and you have a new administration that is trying to just salvage, the economy and I mean, due to a number of reasons. Part of it was some of the conscious decisions that we took, economic policies that we took in the country, which of course will have far-reaching implications that we need to deal with, and also in a way partly because of global economic recession, which is a global challenge and not just a peculiarity of Nigeria, and also thirdly partly because of the insecurity situation, that we're grappling with in the country, which has almost made it impossible for the majority of our farmers to wake up in the morning and go to their farm. I mean, all of these are meant to have serious implications, and part of it is what is responsible for the near food crisis, that we are faced with in the country, and beyond the insecurity that we are experiencing at home. If you also look at what is going on globally, you see that the war situation in places like Ukraine and Russia, the war situation in Israel and Gaza, are all having global impact, on the global economy itself. So we must understand all of these within the context of international political economy to be able to really even explain some of the things that are going on in our country today. I know that it's not just about the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu not doing what it's supposed to do. I'll tell you, if we had in place at this time an administration that does not have a scientific understanding of what is going on and what is to be done, our situation would have been worse as a nation. But we're in a dire situation. But there's a lot of hope that based on the economic policies government is putting in place, the courage to take some of the decisions that government is taking, things will come together for Nigerians, and definitely our situation will be better. So I have no doubt that, regardless of what we're going through today, tomorrow definitely would be better than what we are going through.
And definitely, just talking about the executive legislature elections, appear to be quite cordial. Can you give us your thoughts on the factors responsible for this cordiality between the executive and legislative arms of government?
Well, our constitution provides for separation of powers. So to begin with, it doesn't matter. Even if the president and commander-in-chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as well as the president of the Senate and the Chief Justice of Nigeria, were three siblings of the same parents, our constitution says they must see themselves as heading three different arms of government. So that separation of power is there. But the same constitution also provides for checks and balances, among the three. And how does that happen? The legislature makes the laws. The executive must assent to the bills before they become law, and the judiciary is waiting to look at, the sanctity or otherwise of the bill of the laws passed by both the legislature and the executive arm. In which case, the judiciary is in a position to shut down the law made by those two arms of government. On the other hand, the appointment of the CJN, and other principal functionaries of the Supreme Court, as well as heads of courts, would have to be confirmed by the Senate, which is part of the legislative arm of government, while the president will have to swear in, the Chief Justice of Nigeria. So checks and balances will always be there. No arm of government can go it alone. The same constitution, quite interestingly, also makes provisions, recognizing the need for collaboration among, the three arms of government. So the truth about it is we cannot but recognize when to apply each of these constitutional principles. So the times that the legislature is seen to be collaborating with the executive, which some people sometimes misunderstand, and they will say, oh, you know what, the legislature is a rubber stamp, of the executive. It's because people who say that don't recognize the need for collaboration emphasized by the Constitution. And beyond the constitutional provision, the truth about it is, when we're also going through the kind of socio-economic and political situation that we're going through as a nation, you see that there cannot be a better time, for the legislative arm to collaborate with the executive arm. We must continue to make the laws for good governance of this country. We must continue to amend existing laws in a way that will suit, the realities of our situation. And as much as possible, this is also not the time for grandstanding. And that's what I always want Nigerians to realize. It's no longer about any institution or any arm of government. It's about our people. Our people are hungry. Our people want the best, that life can offer in spite of our peculiar circumstances. Our people need protection from global economic hardship and recession. Our people want protection. They want an end to insecurity. They want an end to poverty. All of these, are things that cannot happen unless there's a synergy between the executive arm of government and the legislative arm of government. And like I said, it's not time for grandstanding.
Well, that's Senate 109 for this week. Thanks for watching. I am Dennis Adigunloye. See you again soon.